Learning objectives. By the end of this course, you should be able to explain the importance of maintaining situational awareness, recognize the duties of the bridge team members, explain the background of the international requirements, and recognize the company's requirements in accordance with STCW and ISM code. Section 1. Introduction. Section 2. STCW and ISM code requirements. Section 3. Bridge team organization. Section 4. Duties of watchkeepers. Section 5. Requirements in specific situations. And Section 6. Conclusion.
Section 1. Introduction. A deck officer, assigned with the duties of watchkeeping and navigation on a ship's bridge, is known as the officer on watch. While keeping a watch on the bridge, the officer on watch represents the ship's master and has the total responsibility of safely and smoothly navigating the ship. Bridge watchkeeping is one of the most important responsibilities on board the ship. All navigators must understand and maintain their duties. Section 2. STCW and ISM code requirements. STCW and ISM code requirements. Click on each book to learn more. International Convention on Standards of Training, Certification, and Watchkeeping for Seafarers, STCW, has issued requirements for watchkeeping. Chapter 8 in the STCW includes standards regarding watchkeeping. The main purpose of these standards is to maintain safe navigation and watchkeeping. Chapter 8 includes fitness for duty content. All navigators who are planned to have watch at any time should be well rested and fit to take responsibility beforehand. The International Safety Management Code includes requirements for watchkeeping, and the main goal is to provide safe navigation guidelines for the crew who are fit for duty. Following the requirements of the ISM code, the information which supports effective bridge watchkeeping should be included in the ship's safety management system, SMS. Section 3. Bridge team organization. Bridge roles. Click on each character to explain very generally his or her role on the bridge.
I am the pilot. I am the navigational expert on this area, and my role is to support the captain in navigating the ship.
I am the helmsman. I am responsible for steering the vessel following the command of the pilot and master.
I am the officer of the watch. I am in charge of maintaining the vessel on the planned route and keep a proper lookout.
I am the master. I am in command of this ship, and in charge of the safe and efficient operation of the ship.
I am the lookout, responsible of reporting visible targets and anything I hear.
Fun fact. In the past, there was a dedicated place for the lookout, which was called Crow's Nest. It was located in the upper part of the main mast of a ship, and was ensuring the widest view for spotting possible hazards. Based on a naval legend, this term originated from the Viking sailors who carried crows in a cage at the top of the mast. The crows were used in situations of poor visibility to guide the navigator towards the nearest land. Activity: crossword puzzle. Read the instructions and complete the missing words in the crossword. You did not fill in the correct word. Click below button to view the answer. Keeping a navigational watch. According to the weather conditions, the difficulty of the place and the traffic, the bridge team number can be increased or decreased based on the following table. Green indicates the lowest hazard risk. So, when we navigate in a clear weather with little or no traffic and open water, the hazard level is low and the bridge watch condition 1 applies. This means that only the officer of watch and the lookout should be on the bridge. Yellow refers to a medium hazard risk and bridge watch condition 2 applies. The bridge team should be composed by the master or chief officer, the officer of watch, the lookout, and the helmsman. Consequently, red indicates the highest hazard risk. For example, when we navigate in clear weather with little or no traffic, but entering or leaving a port, this is high level of risk, and the bridge watch condition 3 applies. That means that the bridge team should be composed by the master or chief officer, officer of watch, additional officer, lookout, and helmsman. Activity: manage the bridge team. Based on the bridge watch conditions explained in the previous risk assessment table, select the bridge team members. Entering the port with clear weather. Select the correct people on the bridge, and click the Submit button. You did not select the correct response. Navigating in open water with no traffic, but having restricted visibility. Select the correct people on the bridge, and click the Submit button. You did not select the correct response. Pilotage in open water. Select the correct people on the bridge, and click the Submit button. You did not select the correct response. Effective bridge organization. An effective bridge team should always have all sources available on board and promote good communication and teamwork. The bridge team is responsible for the safe passage of shore-to-shore in compliance with all rules listed in COLREGS. Click on the markers to review some key points. The master should ensure that the bridge is never left unattended while at sea. The master should take into account the following: traffic density, visibility, weather information, operational status of bridge equipment, etc. The master should encourage a safe environment, which is open to feedback, whether challenging, and response should be up to the expectations of the company to maintain a safe navigation. All watchkeepers should know all specifications and how to work with all navigational equipment. Click on the tabs to learn more. Lookout. A good lookout should be maintained at all times, using all available means, visual, audible, and electronic. At night, an effective wheelhouse blackout should be maintained. Deck lighting should be carefully considered to avoid adversely affecting night vision. During periods where hand steering is required, a helmsman shall not be considered to be the lookout, and an additional rating should be posted as lookout. Bridge team. All staff who have bridge navigational watch or advisory duties will be part of the bridge team. When embarked, the master, other members of the bridge team, and the pilot should work together and cooperate to ensure the safe navigation of the ship. The master has overall authority and remains responsible for making all the decisions. The bridge team should recognize and understand that all information should be reported to the master on a regular basis. Duties within the bridge team. Duties and responsibilities should be clearly assigned by the officer on watch, who should ensure that all members of the team understand the duties assigned to them. The presence of a pilot does not relieve the master or the bridge team from their duties and responsibilities. The bridge should be free from distractions, and all unnecessary activities should be avoided. Click on the button to view the example of bridge team diagram to illustrate an example of bridge team. Orders. The master's standing orders should comply with the company's SMS, bridge and operational manuals. Be read, signed and dated by all watchkeepers before watchkeeping. Include the following: keeping a good lookout, manning the bridge at all times, protecting the marine environment, checking and using navigational equipment, emergency procedures when calling the master, etc. All the watchkeepers must comply with the above. The captain should constantly ensure that the orders are followed, and any deviation to those orders should be documented in writing and justified by the responsible person. Activity: spin the wheel. Click on Start to spin the wheel. Then click on the cards and answer the relevant question. The use of mobile phones should be avoided on the bridge to avoid distractions. When the pilot joins the bridge team, he or she takes the overall authority during the maneuver. In cases where the hand steering is required, the helmsman might be considered as a lookout. The master's standing orders must be read, signed, and dated by all watchkeepers before watchkeeping. The use of mobile phones should be avoided on the bridge. Section 4. Duties of watchkeepers. Duties of watchkeepers. The master of the ship must guarantee that the ship's watchkeeping arrangements are safe. He must ensure that the personnel's watchkeeping performance is not harmed by tiredness, and that responsibilities are assigned in such a manner that the first watch, at the start of a trip, as well as successive relieving watches, are suitably rested and fit for duty. Click on the button to learn more. Taking over the watch. Members of the relieving watch should be called by telephone at least 20 minutes before commencement of their watch. The relieving officer shall arrive on the bridge well in time, at least 5 minutes before the bell, for his watch and assess the prevailing circumstances and conditions. Watchkeepers should read, understand and sign the master's bridge night order book. The officer on watch shall not hand over the watch if there is any reason to believe that the relieving officer is not capable to effectively perform the watchkeeping duties. The master shall be notified immediately. The relieving officer shall ensure that the crew of the relieving watch are fully capable to perform their duties. The relieving officers shall not take over the watch until adjustment to light conditions are made. Check your company's procedures for taking over the watch. Performing the navigational watch. Click on the numbers to learn more. The officer on watch is responsible for the safety of the vessel until he or she is formally relieved by another officer or by the master. The safety of the vessel and its personnel is always of prime importance, taking precedence over any other. The primary duties of the officer on watch involve watchkeeping, navigation, and GMDSS radio watchkeeping. No additional tasks should be allocated to the officer on watch, or any member of the bridge team, which may interfere with the primary duties. The officer on watch may, at any time, increase the manning level of the bridge team by calling additional watch personnel and by informing the master. The officer on watch should clearly communicate the means of controlling the speed and direction of the ship, the handling characteristics, and stopping distances. The officer on watch has unlimited access to the use of the helm, engines, or sound signaling apparatus. The officer on watch should ensure that all navigational equipment remains operational. Manual steering should be tested at least once a watch. Gyroscope and magnetic compass errors should be checked and recorded at least once a watch and after any major course alternation where possible. At the end of each watch, radar performance monitor tests are to be conducted and recorded in the deck logbook. The officer on watch must always comply with the call regs, bridge operation manual, master's standing orders and master's bridge night orders, and all other local and international regulations applicable to the vessel. The officer on watch must ensure that he or she is familiar with all bridge, fire, and safety equipment, and should not hesitate to take immediate action regarding the safety of the ship and the environment, whenever the circumstances so require. He or she shall not hesitate to call the master whenever he has any doubt about anything. The officer on watch should be aware of the serious effects of operational and accidental pollution of the marine environment, and must maintain his or her environmental awareness, and always be prepared for emergencies. The officer on watch shall familiarize himself or herself with the failure modes of the vessel's control systems and the contingency and emergency procedures. The officer on watch shall use sound signals, such as warning signals, maneuvering and fog signals, without any hesitation even at night. The officer on watch must also pay particular attention to the prevention of damage to the environment, by avoiding pollution by oil or solid materials, especially garbage. All officers shall familiarize themselves with current international and local regulations for the protection of the marine environment and ensure that these, together with the company's rules and any specific local regulations, are strictly observed. This way, the possibility of operational or accidental pollution of the marine environment is minimized. ECDIS operations. Upon joining the vessel, the master and officers of the watch must be fully familiarized with the equipment on board. The passage plan should be completed by the navigation officer and must be checked, verified and approved by the master. The passage plan must cover all parts of the voyage, from berth to berth in 3 sections. The berth to pilot station, the sea passage between ports, and inward pilotage from the pilot station to berth. The passage plan should be comprehensive and contain full details of the voyage. Only a completely validated route shall be used for navigation. A validated or verified route plan shall be printed out. The master and all deck officers shall review and affix their signature on this route plan. The backup ECDIS must be loaded with relevant electronic navigational charts and the voyage plan before commencement of the voyage. The ECDIS implements functions for setting and monitoring safe navigation parameters on vector charts. Chart objects are identified by the ECDIS as dangers to navigation by definite parameters, safety settings, as set by the navigation officer during the appraisal and planning stage, and are approved by the master. Safety settings must not be changed by the officer on watch without notifying the master and the navigation officer in advance. Appropriate safety settings are to be checked and confirmed before departure from the port and each time prior to changeover of the watch while at sea. The navigation officer is responsible for conducting monthly spot checks on ENC's update. The navigation officer is responsible of carrying out tests and checks, as per the manufacturer's instructions. Position fixing. The position of the vessel should be fixed in accordance with the interval and methods detailed in the passage plan. The frequency of position fixing should be such that the vessel cannot run into danger during the interval between fixes. Click on the button to view the example. This table explains the frequency of plotting, the position of the vessel, and the fix type in relation to the area of navigation. Note: the information contained in the table is just an example. Please check your company's procedures for the frequency of position fixing of the vessel. ECDIS failure and emergency procedures. The OOW must immediately take the following measures when an abnormality or failure occurs on ECDIS. In the event of GNSS malfunction, click on the numbers to learn more. Ensure safe navigation. Read and acknowledge the alarm, identifying the failed sensor. Select the secondary position fixing sensor, if there is a second one independent. If GPS or GLONASS sensor is unavailable, select DR or EP mode. Call the master and navigation officer. Plot the ship's position using visual and radar means. Identify other equipment that may be affected by the failed sensor. Define mitigating measures. Correct passage plan if necessary. When the primary position fixing system is recovered, compare with radar information overlay and other means and inform the master. ECDIS failure or malfunction. Ensure safe navigation. Use the second unit. Call the master. Define mitigating measures. In case of power failure, and both systems are switched to backup supply, UPS, consider doing a controlled shutdown of one and inform the master. If power is restored after failure, or uncontrolled shutdown of the system, confirm that there are power supplies to each system. Click on the button to view the checklist. Check ECDIS to ensure that settings are correct, specifically safety contour, safety depth, sensors data, safety frame, chart priority, chart auto-load. The primary and secondary position sources are selected and working correctly. Confirm that the heading source is selected and is properly working. Confirm that RIO is properly operating. Check current position. Check alarm self-test. Collision preventative action. Click on the icons to learn more. In general, early action must always be taken when avoiding collisions, and once action has been taken, the officer on watch must always check to make sure that the action taken has the desired effect. The officer on watch should take the opportunity to carry out radar practice in clear visibility whenever possible. The officer on watch must always comply with the COL regs. Do not hesitate to use the engine or whistle to avoid a close quarters situation. When altering course for another vessel, ensure that the alteration is enough and there's sufficient time to let the other vessel understand your intentions. You must always be cautious when approaching other vessels. Vessels might not be displaying their correct light or shape signals, or they may well be badly positioned and obscured by the ship's structure when approached from certain directions. In sea areas where traffic flow is regulated, like port approaches and traffic separation schemes, it's possible to anticipate movements from certain ship types. In these circumstances, it's recommended to give extra room, as long as it is safe to do so. In case you are in doubt of another vessel's intentions, or if the bearing of any vessel on the port side is steady, call the master, preferably when the range is still sufficient for safe maneuver. Calling the master. As the officer of the watch, you shall notify the master immediately, in the following circumstances. Click on the numbers to know the circumstances. If you are in doubt as to what action to take regarding safety. If the traffic conditions or the movements of other vessels, including fishing vessels, are causing concern. If any close quarter situation is likely to develop. If you are in doubt as to another vessel's intentions. If you are experiencing difficulties while giving way to the other vessel. If the bearing of any vessel on the port side is not steady. If you are not able to keep a safe distance from the vessel being overtaken. If difficulty is experienced in maintaining the course due to heavy traffic, rough weather conditions, strong currents, or if the vessel is not steering well. If the vessel is pounding or rolling heavily. If the speed drops by 25% or more, comparing engine speed and speed over the ground. Click on the numbers to know the circumstances. If weather damage is suspected, or if there is any doubt about its possibility. On failure to sight land or a navigation mark when expected, or if land or a navigation mark is unexpectedly sighted. If you observe any sudden change in the sea, such as a sudden swell or water discoloration, which may indicate shoal or other danger. When the main engine, steering gear, radar, ARPA, ECDIS, sat-nav system, other critical or essential machinery, or any navigation and communication equipment breaks down. When you receive a notification from the duty engineer about an abnormality related to the engine. If the barometric pressure drops by more than 5, which is below the expected range, or if there is a sudden drop in pressure. When the weather forecast predicts bad weather or there's a development of a tropical storm. If a distress broadcast is received or a distress signal is seen. Do not hesitate to call the master if you are in doubt, or at any time you consider it necessary. Whenever you are wondering whether to call the master or not, be on the safe side and give him a call anyway. In case of blackout whilst underway. Click on each number to learn more. Call the master. Display the required NUC signals. Broadcast by VHF to other ships in the vicinity. The main engine will stop, therefore send telegraph stop. The emergency generator will automatically start. In restricted waters, engage the hand steering and steer by magnetic compass. In restricted waters, maintain course as long as possible. In restricted waters, traffic, and circumstances permitting, steer away from any possible danger, for example away from land or shoal waters. If in restricted waters, and in imminent danger, sound the emergency alarm. In addition, have anchors cleared and manned. Await instructions from the engine room regarding main engine's readiness. Activity. Beat the timer. How many questions can you correctly answer in 20 seconds? Select the green button to indicate that the statement is true, and the red button when the statement is false. Are you ready? Section 5. Requirements in specific situations. Risk of collision. Click on the images to learn more. All vessels and watchkeepers are obliged to comply with call regs. According to the Rule Number 7, every vessel shall use all available means appropriate to the prevailing circumstances and conditions in order to determine if any risk of collision exists. If there is any doubt, such risk shall deem to exist. Risk of collision may be determined at an early stage by plotting targets at a longer range and taking regular bearings of approaching vessels. Careful monitoring of the situation should be maintained until the vessel is passed and clear. Radar and ARPA are the primary electronic anti-collision aids for the officer on watch to use. Due to the risk of confusion and error, VHF radio and AIS should not be relied upon for preventing collisions. Keeping a navigational watch. In coastal waters, the largest scale chart shall be used. Fixes shall be taken at frequent intervals by more than one method. All relevant navigational marks shall be positively identified. Click on the button to learn more about blind pilotage. Blind pilotage. This should occur on navigation of the ship through restricted waters, in low visibility with little or no resource to the visual observation of objects outside the ship. The principal non-visual aid to navigation that enables this to be done is high-definition warning surface radar, and all available non-visual aids are also employed. Watchkeeping on anchorage. While maintaining anchor watch, the initial duties of the officer on watch are: click on the buttons to learn more. Fixing the anchor position and the position of the ship at anchor. Determining the ship's swinging circle. Maintaining proper lookout. Regularly plotting the ship's position. Maintaining the vessel's security and access control. Ensuring inspection rounds are periodically carried out. Monitoring traffic and other anchored vessels. Complying with any additional regional or local requirements. If the officer of the watch suspects that the vessel is dragging its anchor, he or she shall call the master, call the duty engineer, and prepare main engine on standby for maneuvering. Call the anchor party to stand by forward. Continue to monitor the vessel's position and plot any movement on the chart. Note: if the officer on watch observes that any vessel within the vicinity is dragging its anchor, he or she shall immediately inform the VTS, Vessel Traffic Services, AN, or the pilot station via VHF. GMDSS Watchkeeping. To enable a ship to send and receive distress, urgency and safety information, the officer on watch should hold a general or restricted operator's certificate as appropriate and be familiar with the requirements and procedures for GMDSS watchkeeping. The navigator should ensure that all GMDSS communications are under the control of an appropriately certified operator. Frequencies should be used for their correct purpose. Watchkeeping during pilotage. Click on the numbers to learn more. Pilotage, as defined by the Pilotage Act, refers to actions involving vessel navigation in which the pilot serves as an assistant to the vessel's master and an expert on the local waterways and their navigation. The goal of pilotage is to improve the vessel's traffic safety, while at the same time preventing environmental damage caused by vessel traffic. When the pilot is on board, master or pilot information exchange is mandatory. In this way, the master is advised by the pilot about the best ways for safe navigation in the harbor or channel. The pilot communicates with tugboats and advises the master about mooring operations. The master and pilot should exchange information regarding the pilot's intentions, the ship's characteristics and so on, as soon as the pilot has boarded the ship. For additional information on the required boarding arrangements for pilots, please visit our Pilot Ladders course. There are moments when more than one pilot is needed. In cases like that, all pilots should be involved in master or pilot exchange, and each pilot's role and responsibility should be understood by the entire bridge team. All defects that might affect the maneuverability of the vessel, or the pilotage, should be immediately reported to the pilot. Duties and responsibilities during pilotage. Click on the tabs to learn more. The master has ultimate responsibility for the safety of the ship. The officer on watch is responsible for managing the bridge team and is accountable to the master for the safe navigation. The lookout must provide an all-round lookout by sight, hearing, and all available means, reporting to the officer on watch and the pilot. The helmsman acknowledges and executes steering instructions from the officer on watch or pilot. The pilot provides expert advice and guidance to the master and bridge team when navigating in pilotage waters. Bridge team during pilotage diagram. Watchkeeping in restricted visibility. Click on the numbers to learn more. Situational awareness is essential for safely navigating. The officer on watch should be aware of the situation, determine if any risk of collision exists, and call the master if necessary. In such case, the officer on watch must maintain safe speed. According to Colreg Rule 19, the officer on watch shall have the vessel's engines ready to respond to immediate danger. During fog, the watchkeeper must sound fog signals, as outlined in Colreg. Navigation in high-density fishing traffic areas. In case of congested traffic ahead, including accumulation of fishing vessels, the officer on watch shall click on the numbers to learn more. Call the master. Inform the engineer on watch. Switch the main engine in manned state and maneuvering conditions. Increase bridge watch condition to level 2 or 3. Proceed with safe speed, keeping the main engine ready for immediate maneuver. Activity, mission is possible. You are the officer on watch. The vessel is at anchor, and you have activated the anchor watch on the ECDIS. Some moments later you realize that the alarm had been triggered, showing the vessel's position outside the anchor swinging circle. As the officer on watch, what do you do first? Select the correct option and click the Submit button. That's right. You selected the correct response. You are the officer on watch, and you notice that visibility is deteriorating. The vessel is currently underway. After calling the master, what should be the action to proper assess the situation? Select the correct option and click the Submit button. That's right. You selected the correct. The master or pilot exchange information procedure is carried out. However, the malfunction of the forward bow thruster has not been mentioned and the berthing maneuver is in progress. As the officer on watch, you are aware of this issue. How do you deal with it? Select the correct option and click the Submit button. You did not select the correct response. Section 6. Conclusion. Conclusion. To sum up, click on the numbers to learn more. This training is designed for all navigators who are taking a watch on bridge. All watchkeepers should do their best to avoid any risk of collision, according to COLREG rules. Navigators are responsible for safe passage. If they have any doubt, they should call the master. Do not hesitate to call the master about anything you are concerned with. All navigators should be aware of their response, have constant communication between each other, and while taking over the watch, gather all information from the relieving officer.
Summary. In this course, you have learnt the importance of maintaining situational awareness. What are the duties of the bridge team members? What is the background of the international requirements? And how to recognize the company's requirements in accordance with STCW and the ISM code. Instruction.